Hey guys, it's Nolen and Jason here with Roofing Webmasters.
Howdy.
Today it's going to be why SEO reports for roofers are bullshit, or BS on the title. So I do want to say just so they're not always bullshit, but 95% of their time they're bullshit, and they're bullshit 95% of the time in relationship to the client.
Yeah.
So the client's viewing of a report 95% of the time is bullshit. Yeah. And it's bullshit for many different reasons, like many. And I'll start on mine and you can tell your story
I'll tell my story
in a second. But the reason that the reports are bullshit almost all the time is multifold, but I want to explain it because a guy asked me, so I had a phone call day before yesterday, and this guy's probably going to become a client. He said, hey, Nolen, yeah, if you could get me some reports, this guy did a SEMrush and this and that, and check out my competition and go over all that with me, that'd be great. And I said, yeah, no. So he's like, and they're kind of like, bye. And I'm like, I'm not going to do it.
You're not willing to kiss my ass? What?
I'm not, it wasn't, it's not that. I mean, he didn't understand, and this isn't the whole reason by any means.
Yeah.
This is just the pinnacle of the reason. One, I said, look, I'm the owner of the companies, and I can't spend hours doing a dog and pony show that does not have any bearing on the workload that we're going to produce for you.
Right.
And I said, let me explain myself so that it doesn't come off wrong. You've got a sales guy working somewhere that has no knowledge at all, doesn't hold, doesn't have a pinky finger worth of stuff compared to me. So I cannot spend hours coming up with reports to show you competition in your market. And it wouldn't matter anyway, and I'm going to tell you why. So the reason it wouldn't matter is because we're going to do the best job we possibly can anyway. We're not going to do less than the best job we can. And if we see all your competitors in your market, we won't miraculously develop new skill sets or learn something we don't know in order to deploy to beat them.
Right.
On every single client, every single launch.
And counterpoint, if we look at your competitors and they're doing almost nothing, we won't phone it in and do just barely anything.
Correct.
We'll still put in our full effort.
We'll put in our full effort every time, and we study all the time.
Right.
So I don't need a local guy to beat me over the head with his, see, look at that. It's almost like, it's on my end, it's like putting my nose in the pile of crap in the middle of the floor. The dog crapped the floor. Look, Nolen, there's crap on the floor and you need to fix it for me. We need to fix this situation. From the client side of things, they're getting enraged in a sales technique. So, and by the way, in case you don't know this, any fool can type a URL into SEMrush or SEMrush, however you want to pronounce it, and pull a report just like that, and look at big shiny boxes and graphs and numbers.
And they can pull the number that makes you angry.
Yeah.
And tout that one as the most important.
Yeah.
number.
Look at this. This razzle dazzle roofing company's running all over your ass in your market. I mean, they're killing you, Bob. You're done. You are so screwed if you don't use our services. So in that, it became arbitrary.
Yeah.
So it's arbitrary because the roofer that saw the report got enraged at the report. The moron that pulled the report is doing his job to try to get a sale, right? I mean, comparatively to us, they're morons, okay? Agreed?
Agreed.
I'm a little off. I'm a little bent on this. This guy was nice guy, by the way. Yeah. Really nice guy. I don't have any problem with him even asking me about it. It makes sense. It's like, hey, pull a report. Everybody pulls a report. Well, why do they pull reports? Well, to check out my competition. What are they going to do with that, Jason? What will they do with that? And I'm just...
Either they can't do what the competition does, or they're admitting to you that they're not going to do, they're going to go only one step beyond.
We need to include the things that these people have in order to get better than this person. So that's the premise.
Right.
We need to include the things that this guy has so that we can beat him outright. And if we know what they do, then we can do our job better and beat them. Now, I'm going to lay out some things on this client. And then here's freaking hell. It goes way beyond this on frustration level because you know all the background stuff.
Yeah.
So the guy ignores data pins as a criteria. Ignores it. And we'll get into that in a minute. So he's looking at these reports and getting sold shit from people, just bullshit from people. So he's looking at reports, getting sold bullshit.
Probably blogging and
it's not. It's
horrific,
worse than
just
that. No, it's
useless.
just like some guy showing them reports and pulling up stuff and talking about words like SEO. They don't even really know what they're going to do in the first place. So he's looking at all this stuff. So the person that was beating him had been online since 2006. Our new client, which again, I'm not mad at the new client, I'm mad at the situation in the industry.
Yeah.
I'm mad at all the piece of crap web companies and every stinking bad salesperson out there. There can't be more than fingers and toes that are good. And I've never met one of them, but I'm sure they're out there. So
he doesn't really believe that.
I do think they're available. I just think
we're the
it's
only
like
one.
I just think it's like a white unicorn type thing. You know? I just don't think they're there. So the guy's site was from 2006. His site was from 2019. The guy had 750 reviews over the course of long term with Google Business Profile. He had 200.
Pretty good since.
Pretty good, but it was over
not
the
as
course
many.
of 2 or 3 years, not over the course of 16 or 17 years.
Right.
The guy had a link from, this is going to get you.
Oh boy.
Well, the guy had a link from the Mavericks D team, the developmental team.
Who, the competitor or
The competitor.
Okay.
The competitor had a 42 domain authority. He had a 16. So his was actually really high.
Yeah.
But the
actually,
competitor had
for a local.
Chamber of Commerce, Dallas Mavericks, just like the competitor had been working on things over the course of time, had a 200-something page website, which on today's standards is too much, but you can tell that they had done the right conscientious thing at the time as time had gone on.
And if you've got a 200-page website that's been there for 15 years, it's not the same thing as making a 200-page website today.
No, in fact, it needed to be culled out, but my only point is this guy's been trying to hit all the marks for years.
Right.
Spent tens of thousands to become maybe a preferred partner with the Mavs.
Yeah.
So, and it goes on and all the stuff that the guy did. And so what is the one thing that a newer person could use to help them move faster that we deploy for them?
Data pins.
Data pins. But what was the client fixated on and doing? Reports.
Reports.
From jackasses.
Yeah. Reports from
Reports from
That
jackasses.
should be the title of this one. Reports from jackasses.
It doesn't. I gotta get it. I gotta have it keyword relevant. Though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like
See, we know these things.
roofing reports from jackasses.
Roofing reports.
SEO roofing reports from jackasses. There you
we
go.
go.
I don't know if I can say jackasses though. Can you?
Why not? We're not on broadcast TV.
Well, like on the YouTube title, that's like podcast/YouTube. Like, can I put it on the YouTube title?
I don't know. We'll look into that.
Anyway, we just BS, B period, S period. But yeah, so he's fixated on this, and he calls back yesterday. I said, hey, and he said, I hope you weren't mad about a report. I said, I wasn't. It wasn't bad that you asked for the reports. In fact, I gave them to, you know who I gave them to that works here, works with us, and smart individual checked out the reports and sent them over. And I said, hey, you know what was good about the reports is that we found out that you need. I said, and I went over the arbitrary thing. It's arbitrary because remember the reports are 95% of the time that the reports are done. The reports aren't always bad in the right context, and we'll discuss a few of the right contexts. Except you guys ignore them on your own BS narratives. And we'll talk about that in a second.
That's my story.
That's Jason's story. So the reports are being done as part of a BS sales routine from jackass salespeople. So the people are getting bought into it and hearing the words and said, that sounded like what Nolen said. Wah, wah, wah. They're $100 cheaper. Like, and Nolen didn't want to run a report and do a jackass dance in front of me. And so So they've got all this stuff set up. They're going down the road, and then poof, data pins is just like out of their brain.
Yeah.
This jackass is going to be smart enough to trick Google. I'm sure of it. He could type in a URL and pull that pretty report up. And their team's going to be smarter than the guys down in, I can't remember the city now. Hits my cell phone all the time. I can't remember the city name.
Doesn't matter.
Anyway. So, no, they turn it over. You have no idea what the company does. You have no idea whatsoever because you have a bungling salesperson on the phone that's just trying to get a commission.
That salesperson and you, no offense, don't know how that competitor got that result. You're conflating a bunch of stuff on a report with the result, some of which might be relevant, but a lot of which is not.
99% of the time, the salesperson doesn't know jack.
Yeah.
And that includes you when you talk to them because they're going, you're not the 1%. So the salespeople don't know anything. They make the sale. They learn a little bit of jargon. They show you the report. They turn you over to the company that they work for, who then bungles the living hell out of it, which makes the report arbitrary and BS because the people that then take your business over lack skill sets, integrity, and the ability to just get the job done.
And the likelihood is that company is either using your money to do paid advertising, which means they're not even really doing SEO, or most of the money you pay them is going toward reports.
Well, and sales.
Yeah, reports and sales. Reports and an account manager who calls you once a month to show you the report and make you feel good about it.
People never believe me, but how much more money per month do they pay than us? And I'm gonna average the money that they pay more than us per month is almost as much as we charge them per month.
Yeah.
But I'd say that they pay about a 70% rate of increase on having the salesperson in the first place. So the person that wedges in between, that knows nothing about the services, that basically lies about the talent and the skill sets that the company has that they're selling, that doesn't even know what they do, that, by the way, won't even enter your job in properly in order to get it to do well.
Yeah.
That person is costing you like $700 a month by themselves just to enter in it. So the salesperson, which you may never talk to them again, but you got a razzle-dazzle routine, and so they're going to have to bring in the account manager. The account manager runs more bullshit reports every month.
Right.
And
pretties them up. And
the reports that the account manager run might not be bullshit. But,
true.
But because they're using them.
But they will be spun.
As a. What do you mean spun?
Spun as in they spin doctor them so they pick out the good numbers.
That's why the reports,
the bad numbers.
That's why the reports are bullshit on this. Yeah. So the bullshit company runs the bullshit report with the bullshit salesperson, the bullshit account rep. So you're down this whole road of bullshit.
Just endless fields of bullshit.
Yeah, and so you've got the report now, and their job is to keep you online for the reoccurring revenue on the bullshit account manager's report. It wouldn't be a bullshit report had you actually gotten great services and integrated. If you listened to it and didn't spin the narrative, which means that you want to ignore the report and all the goodness that's coming if it was good.
Right.
So, which I've got some other stuff to say, but go ahead. That's your segue.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I get a call from a client. It started out, and just to put this in perspective, this is a good client.
He's
been with us a while.
Well, Jason, all of our clients that pay are good clients.
He has done a crap ton of data pins.
Right.
Like 700.
I didn't ask. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's awesome.
He's doing everything we asked him to do. He has been a good client the whole time, but he got a phone call from somebody telling him, you're not really showing up on mapping in Google My Business, which is a giveaway because they changed the name a month ago that the person he was talking to wasn't up to date. But he didn't know that, obviously.
Yeah.
And they're telling him, well, they're going to do this and that with mapping, and then blah, blah. Yo, you don't even really need a website, and da-da-da-da-da. And so first he's talking to me, and he's doing I'm paying a lot of money, and I'm not sure my company can stand the expense. But then he admits to me that they're busy and doing well.
Can I say that this guy's paying less than $1,000 a month?
Yeah, he is not
And
paying.
then our competitors charge $2,500 and $3,800 and per month for SEO without proprietary software like DataPens. And I'll show
Right,
you.
right, yeah.
All right.
And we go through all this song and dance, and he keeps coming back to this map thing. I'm not showing up on the map. I'm not showing up on the map. I'm like, well, why do you think that? Because I'm looking at your numbers, and things look pretty good.
Can you give some of the numbers? Because it was crazy.
Oh yeah, it was amazing. His Google business profile was generating almost 60 calls a month. That's just direct calls from the Google business profile, meaning by the math we usually see, he was getting 3 times that many.
This is just stuff that people actually clicked on, not that they looked it up and called.
Yeah, this is someone saw him on mapping, or they saw his GBP sidebar and clicked call, or tapped call if they were on a phone. He had been shown in the map pack 3,000 times in a month. He had over 700 visitors to his website in a month. And this is a local service provider. He doesn't cover like a state or anything. It's a single metropolitan area.
This
And
reporting,
it's only the western part of the metropolitan area. It's not even the whole thing.
and the reporting is absolutely not bullshit.
Yeah.
But
Well, because I'm not spinning a report. I'm not going to SEMrush. I'm bringing up Google Analytics, Google Search Console, Google Business Profile Insights, and I'm giving him a raw number.
So the
This is what
reports,
happened.
the reports aren't bullshit by nature. Neither is SEMrush.
Right,
It's people's understanding and the premise of the report.
Yeah, SEMrush is actually a fabulous tool, by the way.
By the way, this stuff isn't bullshit either. The clients
The way it's presented to him is bullshit.
and the way that the client responded to this that Jason is about to tell you is bullshit.
And he still wasn't happy, and I'm like,
That's not good enough. I'm not happy enough.
and I finally get him to admit that he's seeing one competitor ahead of him all the time. I'm like, well, okay. And as it happens, this client is local. So I said, okay, I'm going to put in, and he says, if you put in plumber near me, this guy's always ahead of me. I said, well, you know what? You're local, so I'm going to put that in. Put it in. There he is, our guy, top of the map pack. Boom. Big bold letters, can't miss him. And I'm like, dude, I'm looking at you right here. And he's like, you don't see so-and-so? I'm like, no, I don't see that anywhere. And I'm like, oh, and you're up top of organic too. I said, I'm really not seeing the problem. You got traffic, you got calls. And he goes, so you're seeing me at the top of the page? I said, at the top of the map pack. He goes, no, not at the top of the map pack. I'm like, what do you mean? And he goes, at the top of the page. I'm like, are you talking about the paid ads?
Stop it, man. Stop it. I can't listen to this again.
And he's like, whatever is, and he said Google guaranteed at the top. Yeah. I muted my phone and had to scream because I'd been on the phone at this point for 45 minutes.
So the client decided to ignore these reports, spin his own false narrative, and it's frustrating.
With a serious lack of understanding. And again, nice guy, good client.
He's a good
client. But
client.
he had been called and sold somebody, and they had spun him up on this idea that he wasn't showing up in the map because he wasn't showing up in Google Guaranteed. And I said, dude, I'm saying, I don't usually say dude with clients, but I'm avoiding saying his name.
Yeah. He will not call you dude if you become a client.
I'm like, the only way you get to be first on Google Guaranteed is pay a lot of money.
So,
and if you want to do that, more power to you. Google Guaranteed's great.
Just so y'all know, 70% of home services, 70% of the clicks on Google are non-paid items.
Right.
So the stuff that we traditionally work on for clients, the organic mapping, reputation reviews, and keywords and organic SEO, whatever that's all non-paid stuff. Y'all know the difference in this, and this was frustrating, but this was someone hearing the actual report data, ignoring it wholeheartedly. He'd spun out of control on a, slippery slope of testosterone, and
he had a combination of someone who tried to sell him and his frustration with seeing a competitor
making him
before
angry.
him.
Yeah.
And I told him flat out, I said, stop. I said, you can You can cuss me out if you don't like me saying this to you, but stop looking and getting angry because someone's in front of you. You will not be number one all the time for everything.
Yeah.
And you yourself told me your business is good. Well, yeah. Well, if your business is good, why are you angry?
Why was he angry? Because somebody was ahead of him.
Because someone was ahead of him. And because someone else had gotten him angry about it by talking about him not being on mapping. And I actually screenshotted my search and sent it to him. There you are on mapping. That is the map, and you're number one.
So just in
For
case,
the single most desirable keyword.
case people don't know, there's been reports on the Map Pack 3 that everybody wants to be on either desktop or your phone. And there's no difference in clicks. You can be the first or the second or the third to click. Now, it's different on organic underneath it, but on Map Pack, the click is almost, the response is almost the same.
People look through all three.
They're as likely to call 3 as 1 or 2 as 3 or 2 as 1, whatever. But yeah, so, and the point of all this is that, now I want to wrap up some of my stuff too, but the client, which is you, the client will look at it, and that salesperson talking to this guy on the initial sale before he was a client,
right,
saw how many links there were, saw the domain authority, and didn't discuss it. And this guy even told me, I could tell this guy didn't know what he was talking about.
right.
That's why we had John look at it, and John went and looked at it, and he's like, wow, this guy's been around since '06. He's got a 41 domain authority. He's got Dallas Maps, and like, I mean, this guy's dirt dog rolling on stuff that no other agency
He's
could
got
do.
things that agency cannot do for
Correct.
you.
That's exactly what.
Yeah.
That's exactly what John said. And
He cannot increase your tenure on the internet by 12 years instantly.
correct.
Or
You can't increase the tenure. You can go get a link that might have cost 20 grand or whatever.
yeah.
Or whatever it was. You can go do this stuff. And the one thing, because I got this email back this long, and during that whole email, as I read it, it leaned the narrative back over to this SEMrush report, which again was a great report. It's just used improperly.
Right.
And it's interpreted improperly, and it falls on deaf, ignorant ears that can't actually, because of talentless SEO companies, they can't actually do anything with it.
Yeah.
They're only going to do what they could do, which makes it arbitrary. It's arbitrary to me because I do all I can do. It's arbitrary to them because they don't even get service in the first place, nor can the client that's getting the report order someone else to do it.
Right.
I'm going to give another example of this. And, well, I want to finish out because I wanted to finish this guy. So if you know this stuff, the one thing that you could have done that was negated was data pins. We spent over $1 million set another company. And it helps the horse run faster because they're getting pins, getting check-ins, they're getting pictures and unique content and captions put onto the individual service and city pages daily, text and email clients for reviews. That's the sort of signaling that makes a horse run faster, that makes up the gap of the 12 years faster.
Right.
And then the guy could have gone and done stuff. So
you can't erase the gap. You can overcome the gap.
Yeah.
But only with something like data pins.
So I would, you can overcome it by getting the best company possible. It's obviously us. I got to tell you something. I'm not even, just to be clear, there's a few good ones.
Yeah.
They don't have data pins because it's proprietary, and they don't own it. They don't have it, and they can't get it.
Right.
So
They gonna let him have it.
yeah, they ain't gonna let them have it. Shut up, Jesus. All right, anyway, so they don't have that, and if they do have some SEO chops, there's so few of them, you're very unlikely to ever even come across one of them.
Right.
I mean, there's 10,000 of them, and there's like 5 that are good.
Yeah.
So it's not every guy.
Especially when you're looking at
10,
local.
maybe 5 or
Local
10.
is the worst of the bunch.
If you're looking for a roofing specific,
Yeah.
maybe in that category, there's just us. Maybe it's just us. All right, so yeah, and at the end of the day, I was like, okay, so it wasn't entirely fruitless to run this report, because now you've talked to me, now we ran it, and you understand that they have time.
Now we've told you the real report.
Right, the reasons for it.
Yeah.
And you can quit looking. And by the way, he had like this competitor had ludicrous amount of clicks, but almost all of them were from blogs that were coming through that weren't relevant to their product.
Right.
So that made it look worse, or better than it was, or made him more angry about it, or whatever. This guy wasn't angry, but that's the tool. It's making them angry.
It confused him more.
It makes them want to, like, oh, I'm going to go with you, and like, you can do this. Oh, yeah, we can help you. It's like, that guy, slams that sale down, sells it for probably twice as much as what we do, gets thousands of dollars in his pocket, wipes his ass and goes and drinks a craft brew on you. Like, right? Like, he stands up, that stupid salesperson grin.
Yeah.
Ladies like me a lot, and they give you that dumb, smirky grin. You know what I'm talking about? And then they're like, Miller High Life? No. I'll have that indie special brew over there.
Give me an IPA.
Yeah. So they go toast that, and they don't think about you ever again. Ever. They don't even enter you in their system so that it can be done properly. I have no idea if you work on TPO or standing seam or...
And probably don't even know what those things are.
Don't know what a single ply is, don't know what liquid coating, couldn't give a shit, but they made their sale.
Oh, I forgot to even mention that the guy I talked to, one of the things that the salesman he spoke to told him was, well, you need results now, and SEO takes a long time to work. Now, SEO does take time to work, but this client's been with us almost a year.
It was already working.
And I was like, yeah, okay, that is technically correct, although I would dispute long time.
Yeah.
It does take time, but you're already there, man. You've done the data pins. You've been with us for, I think, actually 8 months. The time has elapsed, and it's working. You got the traffic. You got the calls. You got the clicks.
He was still angry about all
there.
the BS from the sales guy, but everybody just interpreted this.
Yeah.
Because I talk to people all the time. So all they all heard was, if you go with Roofing Webmasters, it takes 8 months to get up in ranking before you're happy. You're wrong.
No,
You
he's been happy
misinterpreted.
for months,
This guy,
actually.
Yeah, but that's what people hear because
Yeah.
they're new starting out, which I'm empathetic toward.
My bad.
Just got to be cool and don't even spread false propaganda to people.
He's been with us 2 weeks, and he's thrilled.
If your site's been up a while, you might get happy in 90 days. If you've
Yeah.
been up less, you might want to wait around 6 months. Doesn't mean you won't get a call in the first month, so don't misinterpret data based on whatever you think you've heard. But if you're using data pins and you're moving forward, you could be a happy camper in 90 days. If I just talked to a guy. I talked to a guy this morning before I came in, and he was he wasn't a roofer. What was he? Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. He was at. In fact, he was at Win the Storm or whatever in Dallas. We're having a conference here right now.
Oh, okay.
And he was a public adjuster. He was getting his roofing site going. He was trying to get me to tell him that he'd be happy in no time. He was actually out of Weatherford. But
Win the Storm.
I think it's a huge conference, man.
No, that just reminds me. We had a roofer recently send me some credentials for some of his logins. I'm not going to tell you what they were, but one of his logins
we get some
was
bad ones.
One of his logins was pray for hail.
That's a good one. Yeah, some of them are downright inappropriate.
Well, yeah, I wasn't going to use that.
But that's a good one.
All-Star go big.
Stop it. Inside joke. I don't think that, I don't think God would be mad at you for praying for hail if you're a roofer. I've thought about that before. What's so bad about praying for hail? It's Mother Nature. It's an act of God. Right? So a roofer can pray for hail and not go to hell, I think. I really think so. So I'm just throwing that out there.
I don't know, man.
You don't know. So.
Deep theological questions.
You can have your
Roofing
viewpoint
Webmasters
on it, but
podcast.
yeah, that's my view. But a roofer can pray for hail. All right, so we ought to do one on praying for hail. But so I just the other one. So we had a client that, and I'm going to tell this story. We had a client that left. That was a roofer that had, by their own admission, made millions and millions of net profit. It was a fabulously.
I know who you're talking about.
It was a fabulously successful launch, and this isn't let me say this. It's common that we have happy clients. That is the main outcome. This particular client, though, got dozens of calls per day in a metroplex of about 5 million people.
And at one point, by the way,
with no storm.
Called us to thank us for making him so successful.
I'm sorry, it wasn't one time. And it's,
okay, that's okay.
It's on my texts. I can search it
saved
right now.
that.
Well, they're just on here. I didn't freakishly save it and like look at it to get my
sheet printed out,
get
made a
my
little
jollies
shrine.
off or anything. I was like, but no, I had multiple texts within the first 8 months.
Yeah.
It was a runaway success. There was several texts and several phone calls.
He was one of our early
Gushing.
adopters and most aggressive adopters of data pens.
Of data pens. Okay, so the client is going to go right into reporting. It's kind of my last story unless I have some tirade of BS. So the client, over the course of time, gets an ego the size of Texas, right?
He had it before.
He did.
He just let it creep over this.
And the client wanted more and more and more. And I'm not exaggerating. They were doing millions in net profit. They were only,
And he told us that's not an assumption on our
not
part.
in gross profit and net profit. He had multiple estimators doing. One guy was just one of them would do like 25 estimates a week, all off organic, no paid advertising, all off the effort that we did. They were not on the second. I'm sorry, they were on second page for every keyword before he showed up, not in the pack 3 for anything.
Right.
Come along. I mean, they even got metal roofing in this city at #1,
Right.
because of us. And they didn't even have a metal roofing page before that. That's how strong the damn thing went. They went from 38 reviews to 98 reviews within like a year and a half. And they did like 100 of those pens a month and just kept doing them. And
Yeah.
eventually those 100 pens were legit.
Yeah.
And they're all legit, but you can do, what do we call it? There's a professional sound name for just a pen that's
the professional insight.
a professional insight pen. Yeah, to where you see a roof, take a picture, make a comment. Started out doing those, and then just, I mean, anyway, the thing's booming.
But by the end, every pen was actually a job they were working
Correct,
on.
correct. Yeah, and it was still about 100. It was 100 a month, or they
Yeah.
at least estimated them. Given a proposal, bid, whatever you want to call it. Roofers call it estimates. So he gets on looking at reports and looking at stuff. Gets angry about reports and arbitrary numbers. They're arbitrary to him because even though he's very intelligent, he had no idea how to deploy it or what to do with it.
Right.
As he looks at reports and gets insatiable greed and ego, he begins to ask questions. How can I get more? And this guy was dominant for so much stuff. It's ludicrous. And as he did this, he finally called a company who he thought was the best, who showed him reports. And he left for this company. And we've been watching what this company does, which is kindergartenish,
Yeah.
right? Changing the title tag, doing stupid stuff. Nothing changed on it at all. I can tell you that we're almost 100% that he pays 300% more at least. Right.
Well, yeah, because we know who the company is, and they charge way more than we do.
Yeah, but they don't do way more than we do.
Yeah.
But he got angry about reports and trumped up stuff, and if I had to leave people with stuff on this, there's nothing wrong with looking at a report. It's not good if you look at reports and you think it's arbitrary. If the business has done better because of certain metrics, recognize those metrics even if you don't understand it fully, right?
Right.
It doesn't mean you can't do anything to better your marketing on your own. I'm not saying that either. Somebody can go out
We
and
did a
do
podcast recently where we said you should do that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we did one on door knocking. And
Yeah.
we said, absolutely go door knock, and went all into it. And I think it was a huge mistake for people to drop door knocking during and especially since the pandemic, at very least, since the pandemic stuff. People have not come back online when they could. But this guy, you can better your company and do stuff. If you have a professional service that works well, work with a professional service.
Right.
I've talked about it a lot. My dad's a CPA, I believe big in proper accounting and bookkeeping, and I pay through the nose for it. But anyway, I pay money for professional services. You should too. Marketing is one of those things. There's things that you just can't do that we can do better.
Right.
There's another client I was going to talk about. You know, people try to go get their own in-house marketing and then look at a report, which this has happened just this week. They go look at a report and they're like, are they going to get a guy in-house and that person is going to somehow beat all of us, which there's no way it would ever happen, ever. But somehow the business owner thinks that. The business owner could get somebody in-house to help with marketing, but they're going to be getting reviews or helping make sure pins get done or doing a podcast or a video or posting to your social media so that it's more personalized. They're going to be doing stuff like that.
They're either going to be doing some of the labor along with us, like doing the pins, or they're doing complementary stuff.
Complementary stuff. They're not going to do a better design, code base, or content. It'll never happen. They're not going to do. They're not going to be able to duplicate data pin software, which has had well over $1 million and 5-6 years of total work done on it.
Right.
They're not gonna. I mean, they're not going to be able to do any of those things. And there's a ton of other little details that are done, speed checkups and other things. And even if they could do some of them, like go get the speed plugin for your WordPress account, they're going to screw something up and along the way screw up other stuff so badly that it wasn't worth having them in the first place. And then you're going to lose all the. I mean, this is one thing people don't do. They don't go look at reports and go, by God, those guys at Apple have the best accounting possible. They're using such and such mucky-muck firm. This is horse shit. I am dropping that dude down the street. I'm going to do this crap myself. I got my Quicken plugin, and I'm going for it. Screw them, you know. Nobody ever does that, right?
I'm going to represent myself, Your Honor.
I'm going to represent myself. Yeah. Anyway, but for some reason they do it in our industry, but it's because of a lot of this false propaganda, people getting mad at stuff, clients not understanding things. So reports aren't entirely BS. It's just the way that they're presented is BS, the way they're interpreted is BS. And they're arbitrary if you're just looking at what people are doing next to you.
Right.
Because my only point to this guy was, we're not going to change what we do because of that report.
Because we do everything that can be done.
We do everything that can be done. The one thing I will say out of it is that the guy got to go into a little
Every
in-depth.
legitimate thing.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. the guy, we're not black hatters, if you know the word. We're white hat.
Oh, and I do want to talk up our client that I was telling the story about, because by the end of the call, the call was excruciating, but by the end of the call, he listened to me.
Oh, sorry.
We kind of got past, I explained everything once we kind of figured out where his disconnect was. And he thanked me. And he was happy by the end. And he understood, by the end, he got what I was saying, and he was happy about it. And he internalized the explanation and knew what was going on. So kudos to him.
Yeah, and when we looked up the reports for this guy, I said, the good news is here, you can see now that someone properly looked up the reports, and I have explained it to you, that is the course that you're on that gives the outcome. Right. This client did an excellent job. They did not scoff marketing. They did not throw off marketing. They probably did not villainize their good professional help, like a lot of people do.
Yeah.
This guy's been on point for a long time. I said also something out of it. And listen, admittedly, I don't go over this with you. It does not help me to talk to thousands of people for the 1 out of 2,000 of you that will go get the best links possible in your local community.
Right.
I tell you, if it ever comes up, I'll say, look, we could do a one-time hit, but we don't do any more than that because technically these really shouldn't be done in that manner. And then if you got 2 per year from the chamber, from the church, from the Dallas Mavericks, 2 per year. And really, after you did that for 2 or 3 years, you do 1 per year. This would be stuff that nobody had. 1 out of 1,000 people do that. So it doesn't help me to have the conversation with somebody to tell them about it. And the guy in the same conversation said, I won't be doing that anyway. So...
So you're saying this is how this guy got to this point. This is the key right here. Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, the key was really, and then we talked about it, and the only thing they could use was data pins.
Yeah.
And that.
Yeah.
But it's all this stuff is fine. You can use all of it, but people interpret it improperly. And I don't really blame the clients entirely because they don't understand any of it. And they don't know what's going on. And then so they call and get frustrated about it. They think they can turn on and off the marketing switch and have it still work. And all it does is like cripple and hobble them forever. That's actually what it does. So as a client leaves the best service possible or doesn't do the things that they ought to be doing that are told to them by the best people they could have called, which is the webmasters, and they don't do that, all they do is hobble their business. And whatever success they think they have is less than it could have been. And if they get back on it and do it again, and that guy that he admired was just someone who had just been doggedly on marketing properly for 10 years.
Yeah.
And hadn't let up and hadn't given up and done a lot of stuff right and kept his head clear, kept his ego out of the way, stayed logical and stayed on course. That's all it was.
Yeah.
And we help with all
Sounds
that stuff.
simple.
Yeah, it's not simple, but yeah. It's not easy, but it's easy.
But it's easy.
But yeah, I don't know if I have anything else. I find the whole topic around a report fascinating. It did make me kind of want to get into it. I've thought about it before, and I don't want to do like Zoom calls with people and then throw up a report and then talk about things that are arbitrary just to go through these steps that people think ought to be gone through.
Right.
You know, just maddening. It's maddening. All right. Is that a good enough wrap up?
That's good for me.
Is it good enough?
Another awkward dismount. Hooray!
It wasn't that bad. It wasn't horrible.
We're making it worse.
It is. The longer we speak, the worse it gets. All right. Take it easy, guys.
Take it easy.